I didn't unmute myself. Ha ha ha! I just went through this whole gosh dang plug and I forgot to unmute myself. This is what happens when I don't have people that I have to count down for, is I just start and then I don't unmute myself. What a fool I am. Well, hey, I just went through all those plugs. So, you got the gist of them. It's the same thing every time. Go watch that previous episode if you really want to know. Learn to read lips. Is that better, Maz? Is that working out? Shameful. It's been a rough couple of weeks, Maz. Actually, no, my week up until now has been pretty dang solid. But I am tired. It has been an interesting day. I'll say that. Well, glad that everyone can hear me now. I was just talking about the Discord and how you should absolutely be a part of it because the Discord is bopping. Um, that's pretty much it. All the other plugs, click on the links, go to the things, support us if you want to. You just being here matters to me. But yeah, as I said, while you couldn't hear me, we didn't stream this past Monday because of Labor Day. It was a holiday. And that will probably be a thing going forward, is we're not going to stream if a bank holiday lands on a Monday. We will stream a rerun or something along those lines. It's good for us to have breaks, and yeah, pretty much that's pretty much it. So keep an eye out for those in the future. Go visit stores, support Lydia, the usual stuff that I say all the time. Breaks are good, Maz. I also mentioned today is going to be a bit of a shorter stream, partially because there isn't a whole lot to talk about. We didn't have a stream this past Monday, as I said, but also because I need to go pick up Lydia from work, so we're gonna have to cut it a little bit early. But not too bad. It'll be like an hour and a half less if I run out of stuff to talk about. So it'll just depend on what exactly we have going on. We will be back this coming Monday. We will be back with the main campaign. Then after this coming Monday, we will have another break because DJ is on a trip. I'm probably going to end up running something. I'm not exactly sure what it is. It'll just be an adventure for all of us. But that's our tentative schedule. As always, on Thursdays, I will be running Table Scraps. That I don't plan on changing that anytime soon. I don't plan on having that develop in any particular way different from how it has been. Oh, geez. Frankly, I don't even entirely know where I want to start talking about today. In the last Table Scraps, I riled up some people because I had some real hot takes on the new 1D&D rules. That, some people liked it, some people didn't. That's entirely okay. It's Dungeons and Dragons is a game where how you play is entirely determined by how you want to play. And so if people don't like my rules and I don't like theirs, that's okay. We're both going to have fun if we play at the other person's table. Yeah, some things may not be our favorite, but that's all right. That's okay. Oh, geez, I don't even know what to talk about. I could bring up some more hot take rule stuff from 1D&D. My playstyle might be yours, but we still buddied and we vibe, so it's all good. Might not be yours? I wonder, did you miss a not? By the way, Maz, I don't know if there's a whole lot. I'm pretty sure it's just me and you today. Classic Maz typo. That's the one. Hey, I picked it up anyway. We're good. Yeah, that's absolutely how it is. Like, I've played in... I mean, first of all, I've played 5th edition for years now. Like, almost 6 years, give or take, of 5th edition. And I've played in I've DM'd for a lot of different people, and I've played in a lot of different people's games. And overall, it's still Dungeons and Dragons. Like, that's just what it's gonna be. Favorite off-meta / unpopular D&D builds. That is a good topic, Maz. Give me an example of what would be on meta, or because I have a couple ideas, but I want to make sure that I'm understanding your topic correctly. Because the first thing that comes to my mind is Ranger. Specifically, I think that melee Rangers are not often enough employed. I understand that Paladin, Warlock, Fighter, Barb, stuff like that. They're very common, like multi-classes and stuff like that. That is, well, Barbarian mixed with anything is a weird one, because Barbarians are, obviously their rage makes it so that you can't cast spells and you can't maintain concentration on spells. Ah, yes. Okay, so I'll start off with my first one, Melee Rangers. Legit. They're good. Like, I mean, as good as a Ranger is. But now that they've made Rangers a lot better in general, I think that Melee Rangers are pretty cool. Like, all of, like, the class abilities still function with Melee. A lot of them actually prefer Melee. And people just always are like, oh, I'm playing a Ranger because I have a bow. You don't have to. Get up there with a sword. You're basically just a fighter that does nature stuff. And now that they have like really good Ranger subclasses instead of the ones that were originally released in the player's handbook, it's gonna be poppin'. It's gonna be out there. I like Melee Rangers. I think they're cool. I've played them before. They're always fun. Like, even when they were bad, I thought that they were still pretty fun. As for off-meta multi-classes and, like, full builds. Oh, geez. I feel like it's the ones that I find interesting or at least difficult that are pretty off-meta. Is there certain, like, martial classes that really struggle. Oh my goodness, I just realized. I think I have the wrong camera on. I'm falling apart, gang. Today is not my day. Oh, that's a game changer. Hold on. Boop, boop, boop. Ha. I'm like, why is my screen so dark? I was using the wrong camera. You know, normally I go through this stuff before I start to stream. Told you it's been an off day for Aaron. But let's see. Oh, you see the off-meta builds. I can't really answer my own opinions, and I feel bad at all. I just like thematic multi-classes. Like for me in Liddy's campaign, Wizard might take 2 level and Cleric or Warlock. Still thinking about it. So, off-meta is such a difficult question, because there's obviously if you're going the power gaming route, there are the really easy ones, which are like Paladin, Sorcerer, and Warlock are like the 3 that you just can multi-class however you want, and it'll always be pretty alright. I always do think that the strongest type of class is one where you level straight 1 to 20 in one class. It is very difficult for me to see classes that you multi-class and get actively stronger at the late game. I've mentioned it before. Some classes are better than other classes at doing so, but in general, you're going to miss out on stuff that normally will make you pretty good, and really ups and increases your strength as you approach the late game. Also, I'm going to change the title. Interesting. Um, yeah, so that is just something that I've tended to find, that multi-classing almost always makes you go like, oh man, I wish that I hadn't done that because I would be so much stronger now. Even 1 or 2 levels, depending on the class that you're in, can really mess with your actual strength. Um, Off meta, strangely enough, so the obvious one is like Barbarian, because Barbarian and a spellcaster is just difficult. But even then, I wouldn't even necessarily say it's off meta, because since it's difficult, a lot of attention has been given to how exactly to make it work. So like you'll take spells like Jump or Crown of Stars, things that don't require concentration, and you cast them all before you go into Rage, and then you can Rage and still have a bunch of magic stuff that you fire off and do a bunch of cool stuff. What I would say is the more and Maz, I would agree with that. Wizard is one of the ones that, like, if you can take 2 levels in a class and get something out of it, it doesn't mess up too much. For the main campaign, I play a wizard. I've been debating strongly whether or not to take some classes to multi-class 2 levels into something. Certain subclasses of wizards struggle with that, because having that cantrip 3rd level and 2nd level spell are very important for some of them. For example, for Trepowitz, counterspell is a very important part of his kit. So being able to put counterspell on a cantrip casting level means that he gets to save, hopefully, a lot of spells over the course of a combat, when that's what he's going to be looking to do. So I'm still unsure of it. I'm thinking I'll probably just go straight 1 to 20 in Wizard. But a lot of the Wizard subclasses, since 19 and 20 are pretty weak, are able to get away with multi-classing and not overall impeding their actual strength. Oh shoot, what was I talking about beforehand? There was something. Oh, Monk and Wizard. That is what I would call an off-meta build, because it doesn't really make sense, but it could make sense thematically. But like, in terms of how the classes mesh and like the things that you get from either of them, really awkward. Like that is a tough build to pull off, is Monk and Wizard. That's just off the top of my head. I and who knows, they may actually mesh more than I think. But I've heard of a lot of different, like, multi-classing combinations. I don't know if I have ever seen anyone say that I'm playing a Monk multi-classed into Wizard. Like, that is just not a thing that people do, for a lot of really obvious reasons. But yeah, it's an interesting one. And yes, Maz, Tripwitz is a war mage. Perhaps my favorite subclass of wizard. Bard / fighter is interesting. But I wouldn't necessarily say it's off meta. They don't, the subclasses don't match up well. I know that. When I was working with Grant, figuring out Edward's situation and everything like that, and like leveling him up and figuring out his spells and everything, I don't believe that they mesh well. Like, I don't think it's like, oh, conveniently I can go 6 levels into Bard and 14 levels into Fighter and end up with the 6th level Bard subclass and the 14th level Fighter subclass. I'm pretty sure it's like level 12 is when you get your Fighter stuff, and level like 16 is when you get your Bard stuff, and it's just weird. Does Monk and Barbarian mesh well? Absolutely. I absolutely think that they do, because if you're looking at kind of what the barbarian and monk want to accomplish, they first of all, neither one of them want to wear armor, so that's good. And as long as the ones that struggle probably are any monk subclass that casts magic, so like Way of the Four Elements, probably doesn't work very well with Barb because you can't use most of your abilities that you already really can't use. But just going off of the like the Solar Monk is the first one that comes to mind. You can just be a barbarian that fires lasers from his hands. Yeah. Like, that sounds cool to me. Kensei Monk and Barbarian, that works great. You just get cool weapon stuff that can pump your armor and things. And as long as it's not magic, you can use it while raging. So it turns into a... You can also fall from any height that you ever want. Because if you're raging and you have slow fall, who even cares? You could fall from space, land, and be like, yeah, might have stubbed my toe. Well, that's an interesting question that you have brought. On average, no. It requires a melee weapon. But let me see if I can find it. Alphabet. I think I'm in the wrong book for it too, which is kind of sad. Absolutely, I'm in the wrong book for it. The question is, where's the right book? The answer is I didn't bring the right the right book to this house yet. So we're going to the internet. Thank you, 5e Wiki. So, I have a gnat in my room. That's annoying. So, bummer. It is a ranged spell attack. It's a ranged spell attack? That's dumb. It should just be a ranged attack. So yes, it doesn't work. That means that you... Oh man, that's really dumb. Thanks for bringing that up. So no, the rage damage and the maintaining your rage depends on melee attacks. It cares specifically about melee attacks. So if you're hitting someone over the head with a bow, it's a different story. But yes, I am looking at the Path of the Radiant Soul or whatever. But the Radiant Sunbolt, your 3rd level ability, is you gain a new attack option that you can use with the attack action. This special attack is a ranged spell attack with a range of 30 feet. I don't know if you can even use that while you're raging. Because I suppose it wouldn't be casting a spell. But anyway, that means that the Radiant Soul is not good with Barbarian. An option that might work with Barbarian, going to a different book for this content. Let's see. I would like to potentially recommend a fantastic Barbarian Monk combo. One that, just off the top of my head, is great. Take Barbarian Guardian Spirit subclass. Guardian Spirit Barbarian. And then Way of the Astral Self Monk. That's sick. You just summon ghost arms and ghost armor, and you punch people a bunch, and they make them really in pain. Yep. Monk and Ranger, wacky, workable. God, that's actually really cool. If you take 3 levels into Barbarian and 17 levels into Monk, you've got some pretty sick stuff going on. That's just off the top of my head. Interesting thing that this reminded me, Maz. I mentioned that I might bring up some interesting 1D&D content, the stuff that they're playtesting for Dungeons & Dragons. I've seen that they are changing the rules to grappling. Hello, I am Magic 101. Welcome to the Table Scraps with the Paper Dungeon. We're just talking about off-meta Dungeons & Dragons builds, and right now I'm about to bring up some interesting rule stuff for 1D&D. So currently, grappling requires a strength athletics check contested by the creature you're trying to grapple. They're either athletics or acrobatics. They're changing it to just being a normal unarmed attack that if it hits, you grapple them. Which is, I have no idea if that is really bad. Like not really bad as in like, oh my god, this thing is terrible. Because it's very good. Like, it's really easy to gosh dang grapple people. 100%. You can do some nonsense with that. If you can just punch someone, hit them, they're grappled. I have no idea how it will affect things, because it is true that right now grappling is kind of dumb, and it isn't very rewarding. But yeah, monks. That's what brought it up. We were talking about monks, and I'm like, monks are gonna be wild. Monks are going to be crazy if that's the case, because you've got like 7 chances to try to grapple someone. And that still means that you have the rest of your attacks as well, which you already did, because you can replace an attack with a grapple. But yeah, monks, wild. Yeah, that's it. I would cool. I'm gonna have to experiment with that in the future. With Way of the Astral Self Monk and Spirit Guardian Barbarian, because just thematically it sounds cool. I agree. Oh geez, where do I want to go with this? So yes, it does change a lot of the theme from monks. Monks are already a super weird thing, because they feel like, and this is actually one of my big complaints with the class. They feel like they are almost railroaded in a specific direction for some of it. When it comes to like how a monk, like how it feels like you need to play a monk being almost very stoic, or like wisdom is a very important thing to them, so it needs to be like, oh yes, contemplative, deep in thought, like monk like. But I want to play monks that don't have any of that special stuff going on. I just want them to be people that punch people sometimes. Like, I love the whole, I have contacted my spirit, sent it into the plains, and retrieved the soul of a great demon to, like, all that stuff that now dwells within me and empowers my strengths. Yeah, okay, great. Sometimes, because it turns out some real life monks that do combat, like Shaolin monks, they just train real hard to punch things real good. And like, yeah, they have the like meditation and things, but like sometimes they're just people that punch things real good. Sometimes punching is just nice. You hit it on the nose. Like, I literally made an entire homebrew class around get rid of all that gross magic nonsense. I just want to punch people. And it always makes me sad when I'm playing a monk, because like, I don't want to play someone who gets to the point where they can send their soul into the astral plane. I don't care at all about that. I just want to be a person who punches people and doesn't have a whole lot special with them. Thwacking them with a bow staff. You just hit them over the head. Bonk. I just want to bonk people. But then they get all fancy with the gosh dang mumbo jumbo. Makes me sad. Oh gosh, I'm dropping everything. Falling apart. I have like a whole bunch of table space and still not enough space on my table. Yeah, that's absolutely the case. Monks are another thing that is interesting to me. So, in terms of media that I intake, I'm a big fan of like Korean manhwa, which is like manga but Korean. And one of the really cool things about like manhwas, they have a greater focus on like martial arts and like kenpo and stuff like that. But one of the coolest things to me is that in that media at a very high level, martial arts is almost indistinguishable from magic. Hello, let's not. How are you doing today? We're talking about monks right now, doing some stuff and things. But like high levels of martial capability is basically just the same as magic. Like people are like, oh yes, I'm going to throw out a normal right-handed punch, and then like they blow a hole in a mountainside or like devastate a forest. They cause fire, like they swing their sword and physically cause plum blossoms to manifest. I love stuff like that. But it doesn't have anything to do with magic. They're just that good at fighting. That, like, weird stuff happens just naturally. Which I would love more in Dungeons & Dragons. Like, not a focus on, oh yes, you truly do have magic within you. But just purely physically, you cause things to the effect of magic. I think is super awesome. I think that's so great. And yeah, and that's what I would like to see more Dungeons & Dragons in the future. That's what I want to see. I want to have it out here. My games, you've actually seen a little bit of it. If anyone here watched the Grant, Drew, and Lydia were playing orcs during the Siege of Athala. And Drew, like, they encounter this, like, one of their comrades is fighting off a bunch of mages. And I asked Drew to roll, I think it was like a performance check, like a dexterity performance check. And straight up, like, he, like, took a step on lightning and stuff like that. And it's like, there's nowhere in the rules that says that he can do that, but I think that's so cool. Like, magic exists in this world. Who says that you can't walk on lightning at a high enough level? Because one of the interesting things, I actually had a conversation on Twitter with a person about this. It was a super awesome conversation, but they were talking about spelljammers and like, how does it work? Do they have an engine? Blah 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 blah. And I started talking about the weave of magic, and I've been doing some of my own research into this just because I think it's cool. So magic in D&D comes from the weave. It's like a big well that is then split off into separate categories. So arcane magic is pulling directly from the weave. Divine magic is sent from the weave to a source, and then that source distributes it to people of their choice. So it is changed inherently in its construction. It's kind of like if the weave was water, a wizard would just go to a stream and dip a glass in and drink the water. A cleric would get that water given to them bottled. So it changes the taste, it's probably purified, like stuff like that. But regardless, magic is entirely dependent on will. And people were frustrated with this. I also saw another thing on Twitter when it came to paladins, because paladins, verbatim in 5th edition, don't require a god, and people were flipping out. They were like, "How dare you? My paladins are holy warriors. Holy means a god." Not necessarily. They just get it through a different source. They still get their water bottled, but they don't buy it at a convenience store. They just buy it directly from the people who are manufacturing the bottles. They just go to the warehouse and grab it. And why can I say that this is true? Because even wizards cast magic through will. Yes, you would think, oh, wizards. They're the, like, somatic, verbal, and physical components and whatnot. If you look at the spell Wish, which is highly regarded to be the strongest spell in Dungeons & Dragons, Wish only has verbal components. There's no fancy circle. There's no, you don't need to go find the heart of a still living phoenix and bathe it in the blood of a god. You literally just speak a desire with enough will that the shape and reality of the weave changes. Therefore, all magic is dependent on willpower, on desire. That is what my understanding of it is. Meaning that some classes, the like charisma casters and stuff like that, their desire is ingrained within their being. And therefore they're able to cast magic, whether it be through an oath or through the emotion of a song, or simply because they don't understand that they can't cast magic in the source of sorcerers. In the case of sorcerers, in the source of sorcerers, what am I saying? For wizards, they need to go a roundabout way to basically visualize their willpower into a casting method. So like, like a wizard has to, they logically understand, when I open my mouth, I can't breathe fire. In order to get past that, they come up with a bunch of fancy things and believe like, oh, I need to write all this stuff and do all these things. And then they can cast fire breathing. But in reality, I like to think that they actually don't need all that stuff. They just need to find another way to understand that they can cast magic. And then when it comes to wisdom, the like wisdom-based casters are doing the same thing. It is their willpower being directed at an entity. So like for rangers and druids, it's actually called primal magic. So they're directing their willpower towards nature and their love of it. In a lot of ways, wisdom is their love-based casters. How much do they love and worship their god? How much do they care for nature and all the things surrounding in that? And how do the creatures that they are worshiping or loving respond to them? How much does their devotion encourage a return in investment? Which is super cool. Another concept that I had, which now we're just getting into hypothetical. I've completely gone off topic and I apologize. I like to think that for divine magic, it is internal magic. It is pulling from within. But arcane magic is pulling from without. So like they are taking something from away from them and bringing it into existence. And a cleric pulls from within themselves and exerts it on the world. It also means that the types of magic that they are casting tend to be different. So like a cleric casting a healing spell, wizards don't have access to that because they are using an understanding and a metric, an overlay of something that is alive themselves and applying it to another living thing. For a wizard, they're taking from something that isn't alive and trying to apply it to a living thing, which makes it's hard to cast a healing spell as a wizard, but they can mimic life in the form of necromancy. They can raise dead, they can puppeteer things, but they can't actually heal in most situations. They can, however, transfer health when it comes to the spell Wither and Bloom, where they deal damage to one person and then another person gets healed. Just a couple of interesting things that I've been thinking about recently when it comes to how does magic actually work in Dungeons & Dragons. That's the end of that rant. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. That's pretty much it. That's just the observations that I have had regarding magic in 5th edition, which is a super interesting conversation and will probably come up in the main campaign if you think about it, because we've seen evidence in the main campaign of magic before it was split into divine and arcane. In the tattoo that Miriam has, Abinthy deciphered that it wasn't a type of magic that he had seen before. It was like a magic from before the current age. Super interesting. I love doing thought experiments like that to see how magic changes and works in a world, because magic doesn't actually make sense. Like, if you actually think about it, there's not really a rule system. I saw some people on TikTok, actually. They're trying to make a scientific law to understand magic in 5th edition by, like, graphing out levels of magic, the dice involved, the purpose of them, like class of magic, like aberration and abjuration and illusion and stuff like that. And then, like, coming up with systematic laws. I haven't seen how they've been doing on it, but it was super interesting to watch and listen to. They have like a whole Discord devoted to coming up with a scientific law for how magic works in Dungeons & Dragons. I don't know if I would ever do something like, obviously I'm not knowledgeable enough to do something like that, but to use a law for magic in my games, I'm not sure about. I kind of like the idea that it is a semi-sentient force, kind of like in Star Wars, that people can pull from in different ways. And it is just a neutral force. Although, is it really neutral? Because it's been proven, like, if you look at the grand scheme of things, magic likes things that are pretty or cool. So, like, elves naturally have magic because they're pretty, and dragons just have magic because they're cool. So, like, magic is definitely not impartial when it comes to choosing who gets magic, when, and where. It's kind of just like, I just really like elves, you know? I think that's, I think elves are pretty sweet. And then the Weave's like, we're gonna let elves cast magic. Magic is biased. Absolutely. We need to cancel magic in 5th edition. Just get it out of here. This is why Dungeons & Dragons took away magic's ability to crit, because they were like, you're taking sides, magic, and that's not what we asked you to do. You don't get a crit on attacks anymore. Yeah, Maz, get on there. Be like, hey, magic's causing problems and we need to have a talk about it. For those of you who don't know, Maz is officially a wizard of the coast. That was a good gosh dang can opening. And Maz, also as a reminder, I still know that you have hacked into my Dungeons & Dragons work and my homebrew stuff to steal from it. I'm on to you. I know that you've been taking my ideas for the past 6 years and applying them to your own game. I'm okay with it for now. I would like some credit eventually, or at least just to ask for permission to do so. But keep that in mind as you go forward. Dungeons & Dragons, cool game. Cool game. Well, shoot, Maz, got any other sick topics for us? I've got at least like 20 minutes. All unpaid internship, I'm absolutely in. if Wizards of the Coast was like, hey, we've got an unpaid internship where you just show up and do like creative writing for Dungeon. You just like throw ideas out there. I'm in. Like, absolutely, I'm in. You think they would turn that down? That sounds sick. I don't care that I'm not getting paid. I technically function near or under Wizards of the Coast. I'm down. Hit me up. Watsy, I'm ready. I'm there. I've been working on a project recently. Maz, I can do that all day. But I've been working on a project with a Discord group that I'm in, filled with people who are just way cooler than I am. I know, you're like, how is that possible? Oh. No, I literally, I've been working with this group in this Discord. They were like, hey, we want to put this out. All the proceeds will go to charity and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, heck yeah, I'm in. I'm with them. Yes, this is the Broom RP server. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I want to work with these people. Maz, the story that I'm telling is about typos. I like wrote up my stuff. It took me like a year because I've the past year has been wild. But I finally get it, and I'm like, hey, I would really appreciate like anyone who would be willing to look it over and make sure that I've got everything all good and all right. And they like look at it. Mind you, I send this to the group, and the person who responds and is willing to like go over it is a professional opera singer who also plays Dungeons and Dragons professionally, among other things. So that's what I'm meaning when I'm like, these people are way cooler than I am. So they look it over. Oh my goodness. I need to not write things at 2 a.m. because it's bad. Like, I'm already bad with like grammar and things like that. But oh lordy, that was a time. That was something. They sent me. It was just like a wall of like, hey, I'm not sure why you put this here. By the way, this is the wrong word. By the way, you took the exact same paragraph and didn't change it and brought it down below, which I totally did. I meant to change it and keep the formatting, and then I forgot to write anything. Oh boy, it was something. And then I sent it back for a second revision after I corrected it the first time. They're like, it looks good. Did you just not put anything here? And I'm like, oh shoot, you're right. It's a journey. Editors are heroes. And if you are an editor out there, I would like to thank you for your service, because I could not do that. Like, nope, I'm out. I'm done. There's nothing I can do there. Yeah, I'm really excited. We're actually pretty close to releasing that, and when I do, I'll make sure to plug it in the Discord, on Table Scraps and everything. I'll try to get out on the main channel and stuff like that. Who knows? I might even convince Lydia to post it on our social medias and stuff. But yeah, so keep an eye out for that. I don't know if I have the actual title of it. I think I do. But I think it'll probably be on the DM's Guild, of which one of them is a platinum writer, because once again, they are just so much cooler than I am in every way, shape, or form. Yes, Ravenloft, The Mist Manuscripts, I think is going to be the title of it. So keep an eye out for that, and we would love if, I think it's going to be pay as you want. But any proceeds that you have will go towards a charity. I don't know. I think that they've decided, but for the life of me, I can't remember it. I'll make sure to figure it out. But yeah, and we would love to generate as much as we can for them. We're hoping to release it for like spooky season Halloween stuff. So I'm really excited to see how it turns out. The gosh dang, the person who is like heading it also did the art for the cover. it's like absurdly, it's like professionally painted. It reminds me of a lot of classic D&D like covers, like art style. Oh my goodness, it is absolutely gorgeous artwork. um that's a very good, thanks for calling me out, Maz, to plug on the 28th of September, that's 28th, we will have Between the Rows, Sins of the Father. That's when it will premiere, and then the finale will be on Halloween. It will be on the 31st of October on that Monday. So normally we stream them on Wednesdays. That'll be all the other episodes. But then on Halloween, it will be the season finale. I believe it should be 6 episodes. 28th, and then 5 weeks. 5 Wednesdays in October, I think. Yeah, so that's the plan. We will be recording episode 3 tonight. Episode 1 and 2 I think went very well, so I'm really excited to see what we do with episode 3. And by we, I mean what I'm going to do. Sometimes I surprise myself. We've got a cast of real good characters. They're role-playing fantastically. There's a lot of cool callbacks, a lot of references and little clues and hints and connections. And I'm just having a blast jamming it. So I'm excited to see how it turns out. All that good jazz. I hope that everyone else likes it. I'm excited if Let's Not decides to make any art of tarot cards for it. I'm ready. I'm beyond ready. Yeah, I think it's going to... I hope that it is the best season of Between the Rows so far. That's what I hope. I hope that it resolves well and does all that stuff. Yo! I'm also set to graduate this December, Maz. That's... that's super exciting. What, do you mind if I ask what your major is? It's pretty much just you and me right now in the thing, so... Shout out to YouTube if Maz wants to tell you what their major is. Oh, but yeah, we're absolutely gonna party in the TPD server. I am ecstatic because right now my days are packed to the brim because like I've got TPD, school, and work. So pretty much every day is either a 6 a.m. or like a 7 that I have to be like doing stuff. So I'm waking up at like either 4:45 or 6, depending on the day. And then I have literally things scheduled until like midnight each night. So it's been tough. Computer science with a focus in web and mobile development. Yes, I remember you talking about that. Some of your programming classes. It's a super interesting field that you're going into, Maz. I hope that you enjoy it, because if you don't, I've heard that it's also just absolute hell. But yeah, I'm so excited because once it's graduated, I can devote the time that I would be doing school stuff to the paper dungeon and like Dungeons and Dragons and things that I actually enjoy. So that's a super exciting possibility for the future. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to graduate. I'm excited for you to graduate. It's still somehow only 2:28. My goodness. Well, Maz, do you have any other topics? Super interesting. Any other topics for me today? Any questions that you have? Anything you want to know? This goes for anyone who happens to be watching, although I don't think that there is anyone. Any ideas? Any perceptions? If you were to make a con class, what would it be roughly? Well, you know how I feel. I know how it is. I don't believe my boxer was very similar to the monk, so I think that it was still based on either strength or dexterity instead of just being dex, and then it kept, I think, wisdom. But I actually have been thinking about this slightly in the back of my mind, because I would not want to make a constitution-based class a spellcaster. But Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition does have a problem, in my opinion, where it is very difficult to be a successful tank. Because you can get health, you can get armor class, but a big part of being a tank is the ability to draw aggro to yourself. I think that there should be a class or a subclass or whatever focused on taunts, like drawing enemies to you, surviving their attacks. Because like right now the only effect that does anything close to that is compelled duel. And compelled duel is bad. Like, it's just there's no real good purpose for it, and it only works on one creature. So it's like, if you think to like most RPGs, most MMORPGs, tanks have things like Valiant Shout, where like in a 30-foot radius around you, all creatures are drawn to you and forced, like you draw their aggro immediately and stuff like that. Like, there's no real way to do that in 5th edition. So you just like, yes, I have 400 HP and an AC of 76. And then the enemies are like, well, why would we attack you then? And then you just go and stab someone else. And you're like, there's nothing I can do to stop you. I want there to be taunts. I want there to be ways to draw aggro to yourself. And I think that there should be a class. And a Constitution-based class would be a very good one for that. Maybe it is Constitution Charisma. But if there is a Constitution-based class, it should be so that way they can survive the attacks that are being sent their way. Because I've expressed my opinion on Constitution casters. Because it's like, the point of a caster is that you're not it's hard to live because your health is pretty low. So big damage is real scary for casters. It's not supposed to be as scary for big fighting martial classes. So if you make a Constitution-based class that's a spellcaster, they get the strongest possible ability for their spells, and it also adds to their health. That's just kind of sucky. Because then they're hard to kill, they get really good stuff, and their spells are always really strong, and I don't think that it's very balanced. Now, strength-based casters, that I'm into. Get me a muscle wizard, get me a gosh dang muscle sorcerer, get me muscle any caster class, and I am absolutely in. Because strength is not used for anything other than swinging a sword or mantling a gosh dang tree stump, which is like you can just go around. So that's what I'm about. Did someone just send me a message? No. Give me strength based classes. I'm okay with Constitution based classes for the most part. Think that there aren't enough strength-based casters because there are none. And then oh my goodness, there's several concepts that I would love to make like a series of subclasses for. First off, the Church of Iron is a well-known one. Just a bunch of ripped like clerics that their spellcasting can be dependent on strength. Love the Church of Iron. Also, the Church of Powder. I just want a bunch of classes based on explosives. I want people that worship guns. Just like, for our god, and then a thing explodes. They're like, yes, we've done it. And they're casting, and part of their casting is just throwing a bunch of gunpowder and stuff. Like, instead of wands, they just have rifles. Because artificers are kind of like that, except it's still magic. They're doing magic-y stuff. They're not just doing an old-fashioned musket with a ramrod. No, they're like, I have mechanized this fully to be fired with a complex contraption and the will of magic. No, I just want someone who's like, I can cast spells. I also have a flintlock pistol. That's all it is. It's smoothbore. Who knows where it could go, but someone's gonna die. Like, that's what I want. I want gunpowder and I want iron. I just think it's cool. Black powder is super interesting as a concept to me. And so yeah, so that's my thoughts on that. Exactly. This is the problem with smart people in smart classes in Dungeons and Dragons. I don't always want to play a smart person. Because, and this is a big frustration to me when it comes to intelligence, wisdom, charisma. Those stats influence how you act as a character, which is sad. And people have brought it up before where it's like, I shouldn't have to be charismatic if my character has a high charisma. Like, as I roleplay my character, they don't need to be charismatic. Like, I don't need to, because I'm not charismatic, but I have a high charisma, so I should just be able to do charisma stuff. And that is pretty fair. Like, if you aren't incredibly smart, but your character has a really high intelligence, you're expected to be smart, and your character is expected to know smart things. I don't like that. I don't want to have a person who just does explosions. Like, I'm a big fan of simple heroes. Of like people who just punch stuff, or people who just have a big explosion. That's my bread and butter. Once you get into all the fancy stuff, I start to lose interest. Those simple concepts, tasty. Tasty. But regardless, I did say it is going to be a shorter stream today because I have to like pick up Lydia and stuff. So I'm probably going to call it a day. We will be back next week after we stream on Monday, so I'll have a bit more to talk about. Who knows? Someone might be able to join me. We'll have to play it by ear. But yeah, I had a good time talking to people. Maz, thank you for being here. Thank you to all of the other people who showed up in stream, or even just you know, we're chilling and hanging out. Absolutely, Maz. Feel free to hit us up in the Discord, and I'm down to play Apex most days. Which is another thing that we do on our Discord is, gosh dang, we play and stream games there sometimes, so it's pretty cool. Also, yes, thank you. I completely forgot. Head over to our YouTube if you want to catch up on the stream that we have. That should be on YouTube. It should be on Spotify, pretty much anywhere that you could get a podcast. So check that out. All the things that I attempted to plug at the start and no one could hear. Check those out. That's pretty much all I got. It's just been a long day, and it's only 2:30 for me. 2:40 basically. But yeah, I'm going to call it a day. Yes, you do have Patreon content to watch, Maz. And hopefully there will be more. So be there for it. Just be in the Discord for if you are a sub and not a patron, to check out the stuff later than the patrons will. Objectively, we appreciate our patrons a little bit more. You don't have to feel it, but we still love like our viewers and subscribers, which is just a little bit more. Just a little, and you know, it's a really easy step. But the only thing that I have left to say to everyone here, aka Maz, and potentially someone else if you're just chilling at the end, and all of you who may be seeing this on YouTube at a later point in time, the only thing that I have left to say to you today is good luck and Godspeed. and we will see you next time, Dungeoneers. I hope that everyone had a good like hour and 14 minutes. The first several of which I was muted. But you have a good day, everyone, and we will see you this Monday and on next Thursday. Have a blast, everyone. Goodbye.